It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Oh, there we go. Speak.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah,
now we can hear you.
Yeah,
I'm rusty, boys. I'm real rusty. It's Two Guys and a Goalie on the Nielsen Media Cool Bet Network. Dusty, Gager, and Cass. Brought to you by our great partners over at Cool Bet. If you want to bet on the NHL draft, they've got you covered. You can do that over there. If there's any issues or anything with the stream today, make sure you hit us up in the YouTube comments or on the live Twitter stream as well. Just as I was trying to get everything going and fired it up there, I heard Cass wanting Gager to join a video game clan. What's going on here, boys?
Cass told me to go buy Diablo 4, and that would be a huge mistake.
Just straight dopamine, loot everywhere.
It's terrible. I can't do that because even my son, he's got better discipline with his obviously graduating, and he's graduating this year, and he put off what's it called the new Zelda game because he's focused on his.
You were telling us about that. He was so focused on finals and stuff.
So what does that say about me if I go buy a video game, Cass? That's just irresponsible.
That you're an adult, Gager. It's okay, buddy.
But
I think you could probably do that.
The thing is, Dusty, and we all know what happened with you, and I blame Bell Media for what I've been doing the past few mornings because I've had your show has been such a staple in background listening that now I've gone off to something else, and I'm completely obsessed with UFOs and this ship that's sunk by the Titanic. I can't get any work done anymore. This is terrible. I'm undisciplined, and I think we're going to be taken over by UFOs anytime soon.
Cass, this guy was pretty concerned about everything when we came on today, wasn't he?
Yep. A little worked up, a little concerned. I think he thinks, Trudeau and Biden are definitely aliens. You can see where the skin has been stretched, or they're actually actors. They're actors. They're actors that have had like Mission Impossible faces put on their heads. Actually, they may be actors that are aliens that have also had, fake faces put on that are, impersonating and actually took over and run the world. And Gager, if you're interested, you can read about it on my my blog, www.truth.org/gov.aliensruntheworld/conspiracy theories are real/facts.org.gov.
Cass, you can tell me just about anything right now, and I'll be like, really? I'll listen to anybody right now. It's terrible. I don't know what's real. It's like a real life Inception. I'm in Inception right now. I need a dreidel to spin
a top.
To
spin
see
a
if
top right now. Spin something. Yeah.
I need to do something here.
So, Gager, what are you more into right now? The submarine that's in trouble or the UFOs? Because you seem pretty excited about both of them this morning.
Well, the submarine, I was hoping that that would be such a great story if they got rescued, but it doesn't look good for those guys. Just all the stuff with the Logitech controller, and I'm just like, gosh, if I had $250,000, I would just get James Cameron to narrate the movie for me instead of doing that thing. But yeah, that's sad. But then you go down this rabbit hole, Dusty, and all these UFO stuff. I'm listening to the experts. They're experts. I'm positive that they're all experts. And the amount of information that's out there, that's at our fingertips, the secret development of these flying vehicles, these propulsionless vehicles that the government has been developing for over the past 30 years, since the 40s, Dusty. Since the 40s. This is, I don't know what's going on out there. I might have to. I might move out to a cabin something and unplug completely because this is crazy.
Well, Gager, I might be expanding the podcast network soon, and if you want to, I like a podcast, Crazy Shit with Joaquin Gage, where you're just diving into all of it. Like
we can. That's Yeah, it would have to come on at like 11:30 at night, though.
Yeah.
That's
Late
the only
late
problem.
night crazy shit.
Late night
with Wonky
crazy
Gage.
stuff. Yeah, that would be good. That would be good.
I think that's not a bad idea. All right, we do have lots to get to in the world of the National Hockey League. Starting with the Hockey Hall of Fame class. I mean, I don't know why they won't let Alexander Mogilny in. It doesn't make any sense. He risked his life to play in the National Hockey League, and they won't allow him in the Hockey Hall of Fame. But Pierre Turgeon, Tommy Barrasso, Lundqvist, and not Andy Moak, I got them confused. Mike Vernon goes in, and then adding to it, the rest of the class, Ken Hitchcock, Caroline Ouellette, and Pierre Lacroix also added to this class. Cass, what are your thoughts on it being so goalie heavy?
Kind of dumb, isn't it? Like, no, the McGillney one surprises me too. The interesting one to me, Mike Vernon a little bit. Like, does that not? Did you guys think he was going to be a Hall of Famer? Like, Lundqvist doesn't surprise me. Brasso, I mean, okay. The Vernon one surprised me a little bit as a guy that was going in.
Gager, you talk. I mean, you're the goalie here. I got some takes on it too. But what do you think of Vernon?
I don't mind it because of the Stanley Cups and what a huge part. He beat the Oilers, dude, going up against Grant Fuhrer. That alone is a Herculean feat. Going to Detroit and winning it with two different teams being an integral part of that one. I don't mind that just because of what he was able to do. Tell you the truth, guys, like Tom Barrasso, not the nicest person in the world from all the stories that I heard. I'm kind of shocked at him going in. And tell you, I'm shocked Henrik Lundqvist goes in that early. I don't think you should be able to go into the Hall of Fame on your looks and fashion sense. But really, I mean, great goalie for a long time. One of the kind of last guys, like true number ones, I think, that we've seen over the past 10 years. But you look at Alexander Mogilny and what he did. That's just. I mean, I'm the goalie, but those are two goalies there, Barrasso and Lundqvist, that I just shake my head at before Alex Mogilny with the defection. And I read an awesome story about Mike Keenan yelling at him or something, and he was going, "Mike, do you think I fled Russia? People wanted to kill me. My family was threatened. Do you think you can scare me?" And it was just like perfect. How's this guy not in the Hall of Fame? So. Yeah, I like seeing goalies, but just are they deserving enough? I'm not too sure. Not yet, anyways.
When I first saw the class, I think this goes back to Cass's point. I was like, oh, Mike Vernon. Like I had just sort of forgotten about, like, we know Mike Vernon, but he was never on my radar for being in the Hockey Hall of Fame. You read every year 2 or 3 different lists going up to like, here's guys who could get in this year. His name was never on that list as well. And if you look at the 3 goalies that just got into the Hockey Hall of Fame, Mike Vernon won a Conn Smythe and then split the Jennings. No Vezinas. So not once in his career was he the best goalie in the National Hockey League for a season. Tom Barrasso won the Calder and the Vezina his very first year. Never won it again. Never won any other awards. And then Henrik Lundqvist, and this kind of goes with a stat that always kind of blew my mind with Luongo as well. Henrik Lundqvist only won 1 Vezina. In all the years that he played and how good he was only voted the best goalie in the league 1 time. And as Gager said, he kind of walks right in to the Hockey Hall of Fame. So I don't know. To me, it's not a group of goaltenders that have a huge list of accomplishments that you're like, oh yeah, automatic. To me, it's almost like, hey, we've been a little light on goalies lately. Let's throw a few guys in there. That's how it come across to me. I don't know. It just seems strange to me.
You got to look. He did win a gold medal too, Lundqvist, I guess, and that takes into a little bit of consideration. But I know it's the Hockey Hall of Fame. But yeah, you're right, Dusty. It's kind of weird that he just breezes straight through right in there. It's a little bit puzzling to me.
Be interesting to see if this opens the door for Chris Osgood, who also played a similar role with the Detroit Red Wings. And Chris Osgood actually won 2 Jennings trophies. Mike Vernon only won 1. So that'll see if that opens the door. Pierre Turgeon, I love Pierre Turgeon because he played for the Habs when I was a kid. Like I always loved Pierre Turgeon, but he went in because I guess he played the most games in his career with the St. Louis Blues. But I always remember Turgeon as a Hab, an Islander, or a Buffalo Sabre. I didn't even really remember him playing much with the St. Louis Blues. But I mean, I think he had a couple really good years. He just didn't do what Mogilny did that one year, right? Like Alexander Mogilny scored 76 goals in the National Hockey League. So I would have had Mogilny in there ahead of Pierre Turgeon, cast, but I'm not saying Pierre Turgeon's not a Hall of Famer by any stretch.
No, he's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's a point-a-game guy with over 1,200 games played.
Yeah.
Like, pretty hard not to have him in there at some point. Now, should Mogilny have gone in before? Probably. But Mogilny should have went in front of Lundqvist, Brasso, and Vernon. So, I mean, he's going to getting screwed by everybody here on this. But yeah, I mean, listen, again, Turgeon's a guy that's a career point-a-game guy with over 1,000 games played. So pretty phenomenal career. I have zero issue with him going in there at all. I don't even mind him going in front of Mogilny. It's just the goalies that are just kind of like, oh, really? Like they all go in front of him? I don't know.
Too many goalies. That's it. Too many goalies.
We don't need any.
Hey,
here's a question for you guys for the future.
I think we were just about to get some Russian Gauger there. Wait a sec. Gauger,
sorry.
No, that's okay.
Yes, the problem with Alex Mogilny coming into Hall of Fame, how you say he deep cover operative for KGB back in day. I know from when I play in Vancouver as child, very shady shit going on in the streets of Kitsilano with Alex Mogilny. Late night meetings at the Roxy. Tons of time at the Roxy. Shady people at the Roxy all the time. Russian operatives, I know, because singers on stage, very good looking, very Russian looking. Those ones were good. Mogilny, problem back in Russia, fine.
That might be your best Russian Gauger ever. That's absolutely outstanding. Cass, what were you going to say in the future? What were you going to say about anything?
In the future. So, we look at this, probably the next, let's say 5 to 6 years, there's going to be a couple goalies that could come up that might make it in. But beyond that, with the way the goalie systems work with 2 goalie systems now, how long do you think it is? When do we hit that point where it's like, it's going to be incredibly rare and even more difficult for these guys to get to the Hall because they're just going to end up with less career wins, with less playoff wins. Like it's just, going to that 2 goalie system. Like, is there a point that we get to it being, even more difficult for a goalie to actually get into the Hall? Or are we even going to see any like past 8 or 9 years here? And I know that's a ways down the road, but it's just kind of popped into my head.
Well, maybe that's
the criteria. Yeah, the criteria is just going to change, right?
Well, I think maybe this year they set the tone for this Gauger. If Mike Vernon got in, it's going to open the door for a lot of guys to get in.
But you still look at like the length of time and the amount of games and the wins from Mike Vernon, and it's like he still like he had a lot. He had a lot. Again, I wouldn't have necessarily thought he was going to jump right in like he did, but I don't know. It's just. Like, let me pull up. I want to see his actual games played.
I'm looking at it. He played 780 games. He won 385, lost 273, tied 92. It's tough to look. I mean, his save percentage was 890, but that's just how it was back then. And his goals against average was 298. So, yeah, he won about half of the games that he played. And won a Conn Smythe when he was behind that Red Wings team in '97. So,
Aiden Hill, Hall of Famer.
yeah.
Got the Stanley Cup like Mikey Vernon, right? Vernon was there for a couple of cups, so yeah.
Marchessault should be a Hall of Famer then too, I guess. Whatever.
I mean, it might be the case. Katz, it's an interesting point on the goalies though. Like I just brought up like the list of recent Vezina winners. And let's see. I mean, we haven't had a guy win the Vezina twice. I guess Bobrovsky would be the last guy to win it twice since like Marty Brodeur and Hasek won it a bunch. Tim Thomas 1-2, Ryan Miller, then Lundqvist, Bobrovsky, Tuukka Rask, Carey Price, Holtby, Bobrovsky again, Pekka Rinne, Vasilevsky, I would think is probably the best goaltender in the league. He's only won one Vezina. Hellebuck, Marc-Andre Fleury won one later in his career. And then you've got Shesterkin. So, I mean, you're right. The criteria for this stuff is probably going to have to change, or the way we view goaltenders will probably have to change, or else every time one goes in, we're going to be like, well, he didn't win 3 Stanley Cups. He didn't win 2 Vezinas. You're like, that's going to change.
Yeah, I mean, I guess kind of has to. Because it's like, if I look at current slate of goalies, Vasilevsky probably most likely with the cup wins and with the success. Like if he continues on having a good career, he might be a Hall of Fame guy. I could see that happening. But beyond that, it's like, Marc-Andre Fleury, maybe when he retires, there's going to be a little bit of a gap here, I think, for some goalies. And I'm just interested to see how that changes, or what criteria is used, or if it just becomes ultimately just, even if you change a criteria, guys, I think it's just going to be more and more difficult for goalies to get in.
Well, something to keep tabs on. And, maybe next year we'll be talking about Alexander Bogilny still not getting in to the Hockey Hall of Fame. Look, we talked about Vegas there briefly with Hill and Marchessault, and, lots of times, it's not just this league, it's other leagues. Oh, the copycat league, they're going to go do this, they're going to go do that. Cass, do you think teams look at what Vegas has built and gone, hey, we can do that? Or I guess our team's going to, no, that being said, I mean, if you're really going to copy Vegas, you're going to run your 5th string goaltender in the postseason and hope he stands on his head. So I don't know if you copy all aspects of this, but do you see teams looking at Vegas and going, man, a big bottom 6 like that, that's what we need? Is that what's going to happen here?
I think you're going to see it shift in the bottom 6, where teams are going to say, oh, big, still mobile, can still move the puck, but a big, a bottom 6 that does a really good job protecting the middle of the ice. That's what teams are going to look at. They're going to. It's always copycat that way. Teams always do it. The other thing they're going to be trying to copy is finding guys that can be injured from the trade deadline up until the start of playoffs to gain that extra 9 or 10 million in cap space. They're going to do it. Edmonton should do it. That'd be great. That'd be a great thing. Look for guys who maybe have some nagging little thing that you could, keep them out for a couple months legitimately, and then legitimately have them come back at the start of playoffs and, gain a little bit of extra depth there.
I say
but
rest McDavid all year, and then he only has to play 24 great hockey games.
I would play him until trade deadline, and then have him pull a groin that causes some lingering issues that he has to sit out for until playoff starts. And then, trade for somebody that's, or 2 guys, really. You can get, 2 $4 million players in there, and, or maybe 1 $6 or $7 million guy, and you're golden.
Man, if that happened, Gary Bettman would be here in Edmonton trying to feel Connor McDavid's groin himself. There's no way he would ever stand for that. Gager, what do you think teams call? What do you think? Yeah, it's Gary. Call me, Connor.
That would be. You know what? That'd be a funny bit, guys. Calls from Gary Bettman.
Calls from Gary. You know what?
Voicemails from Gary Bettman. We could do that.
I think. We did some Mike Babcock voicemails right after we started. Back in the day, Phrase was still with us. But let's not talk about the show. I'll get too emotional. Gager, what do you think what do people copy from Vegas, man?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I think that depth bottom 6, but it's lightning in the bottle, too. A little bit, Dusty. Vegas's bottom 6 were, when you really look at the whole season, they were really consistent throughout. Then they did have some injuries, so you didn't really get the whole grasp. I think the main reason we thought Vegas wasn't a big deal is because of the goaltending situation, and Aiden Hill became the best goalie on the planet for a couple of months, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I don't have a problem if we're just going to look at from an Oilers viewpoint. Their bottom 6, I think, is good, but can they get to a level where the coaching staff has faith to put out the 4th line against other teams' top line, go head to head with them, and also create momentum throughout your whole lineup going against. So, yeah, I can see people trying to use that Vegas model of that big, heavy, mobile bottom 6. But again, you have to get those guys playing at a level that's above their pay grade when it counts most.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what we're talking about next year as far as teams that are champions. The Edmonton Oilers were close. They gave Vegas a really good run. We're leading in Game 5, yada, yada, yada. We know all that. The next 3 weeks are going to be extremely important. Draft coming up next week, free agency not long after. Cass, what is the Oilers' number one priority to accomplish over the next 3 weeks?
This is tough because, we talked a bunch about how they could just stay pat. If you could trade draft picks and move some money out and bring somebody in with some size in that forward group, you're probably going to look to that. That would be a priority to do. Somehow freeing up some cap space, that would be something. Give yourself some flexibility there. Find out who can be injured at Christmas time, has something that they need to sit out for a couple of months. Do some research on that. That's the direction I'm going. But I really, guys, I don't know that they're going to do anything here coming up to the draft. There may be something there, but to me, it's like you're going to have to, just because of the cap, you're going to have to sit and wait. I don't think, and I know there's been talk, I don't think you move Cody Ceci. And am I a homer about it? Yes, absolutely. Biased about it for sure. But I don't think you do, because you have to bring in someone for the same amount of money that's going to be able to play better than him. And I just don't think you have that. And I think even part of Cody Ceci's struggles, when he struggles, it's Darnell Nurse's struggles affecting Cody Ceci at times. So I don't think you're going to be able just to go out and get better at that position. I think you could, again, look to try to fit something into your top 6. The Brown play would be interesting, but same thing. You got to find a way to free up some money somehow to make that happen. So if you could do that, sure, great, do it. Going to be a little tricky to try to make it work, though.
What do you think, Gager?
Cap space, that's
Got to find some.
Got to find some somewhere. Be able to be a little bit loose with the cap. Have the ability to bring someone in or move pieces around and not be pushed right up against the wall. So what does that mean? A Yamamoto trade or
it's really,
I don't know.
This is why we have to talk so much about Yamamoto, because it's the one thing that, like Tommy said yesterday on the oil stream, there's a team that's willing to take Yamamoto right now, but they want draft picks to do it. So are you willing to move draft picks to free up $3 million in cap space? And if you know where you're spending that $3 million, like there's a guy that you're like, yes, that's the guy, then I kind of get that.
Well, the scouting staff has known their position for a long time, right? So it's not, the draft for the Oilers can't be about quantity. It has to be quantity.
They got a second,
they gotta zero in on a player that's probably going to be available at that time. That's going to be a huge difference maker. I think that's probably been their focus. So if that's a player that they really need and really like and think things are going to happen, then yeah, keep the pick. But if there's a bunch of if the way they look at that position and what's going to be available at that time doesn't make sense, then yeah, I think you include that pick.
Yeah. Here's my thing with the Yamamoto trading is you're selling low. You're selling very, very low. He was hurt a lot last year, didn't have a great season. Teams are going to look at this and they're going to know that you're trying to clear up cap space for you. So yeah, they're going to demand draft picks. They're going to demand extra. Where to me, it's like, I don't think he can have a season that he struggled as much as he did last year. I just don't. I think coming in healthy.
That's the issue though. Can he be healthy? That's the issue, right? And if we're sitting here midway through the season and Yamamoto's played 15 games or he's dealing with like the neck issue again, then you're like, you'd rather have a healthy body in the lineup, right? So,
scored a big goal, man. Scored a huge goal.
Have him sit out at the trade deadline until the start of playoffs.
Yeah, there you go.
And then you can put him in if you want.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's some LTR or midsummer and just leave him all year.
The problem with Yamamoto too is the eye test from him against Vegas last year. He wasn't effective. And seeing what Marchessault, a player of his stature, was able to do, and that's what I'm using as a comparison. He has to be a Jonathan Marchessault at that point. If he's playing where he is in in that top six, he's got to produce like that. And over the past few years, and for the exception of the nudie line cast when he went on fire, that's what he has to do, or else he's very ineffective. And I mean, he was just getting pushed around.
Something to keep tabs on, I guess. Cass, I mean, if he was healthy, you're probably right. They'd be selling low on him. It'll be very interesting if they have to give up picks to move him, because they didn't have to do that with Jesse Puljujärvi, and I will have the last laugh when it's all said and done. But yeah, we'll see what ends up happening on that front. All right, Toronto. I quickly want to hit on Toronto because we haven't had a lot of time to dive into it since Trey Living took over. But big time for them coming up here right away too. Cass, what would be like? It's been quiet there, nothing of significance happening since he took over. What do you think his first move is? What do you think he does? And you got to figure out. Is it a major move or is it a minor thing?
Well, you got to figure out what you're doing with Austin Matthews here, and you're running out of time to do it.
So you're saying bust right out with the contract, be like, boom, here it is, it's done, franchise locked up.
You have to. Well, what if you don't? If you don't, all of a sudden you have you're taking a pretty big leap of faith not doing it right away, you're gambling. You're gambling if you don't get it done right away. If you're planning on re-signing him, and then you can't trade him, most likely. Or it's going to be incredibly difficult to trade him if he's not going to re-sign with you. So yeah, it's to me, that's probably all hands on deck. 100% absolute focus on Austin Matthews right now for Mr. Trevelyan.
What do you think?
Traveling.
Whatever. The Boston Pizza Kid.
Whatever.
That was
Trade him to Chicago and get the first overall pick.
Wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't touch it. If I was Chicago, I'd say, get out of here. Leave us alone. They're going to take Connor.
Hi, guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
just a quick. I know I've talked about it before.
Are you going to talk about the Bedard is peaked thing already?
Listen, because we haven't. Have we talked about him after the combine? I can't remember if we talked.
No, we haven't talked about him since the combine. No.
So you saw a bunch of photos come out at the combine of him, working out, doing everything, had good scores, good results, all that. He's shredded. He's absolutely shredded right now, but not like skinny shredded, like he's bulky shredded. And it further reinforced. I'm like, I look at that body and I'm like, unless he grows 2 or 3 or 4 inches, he's not putting on any more muscle in that body. He's not. There is like, he can't get any bulkier. He can't. He's already bulky. He's bulky as he's going to be. Like, does he have the ability physically, maturity wise, to get more explosive? Does he have the physical ability, maturity wise, to get his shot harder? Like, I know he's got a great release. I'm not saying he's not going to score goals, but I just, to think that he's going to, I just don't think he's going to step in and light it up like so many people think he's going to. I can't get there. I can't get there. And I know that's arbitrary. People are like, and even you guys, Dusty, you're giving me the look right now. I'm just telling you, like, pump the brakes a split second here. Still should go first overall, 100%. Still going to be a really good NHL player, absolutely. But to crown him, the next scoring king in the league, and they think that he's going to step in and score 50 a year for the next 20 years, like, I don't know, guys.
I'm torn on this one. Because part of me wants to be like 3 years from now and be like, Cass, you were right. You knew it all along. Like, he's a very good player, but he's not at that top end level. But then also part of me wants him to score 6 points in his first game next year. So Gager and I could be like, you were wrong, So I don't know, but it's, you make a really good point. Like, he's very much a developed product already, right? Which is why you can plug and play him and expect impact. But yeah. So what do you think? Cassie scores 25 goals next year? That's 20. Reasonable for 20. Okay, 20.
I'd say 20.
Low. All right. Well,
let's talk to Coolbet.
I was going to say, when the season starts, we will have goal props on Connor Bedard with our partners over at coolbet.com. Okay, one more area I wanted to go, actually, guys. I just saw this on tsn.ca today. Here I am still plugging them. What a nice guy. The NHLPA is launching a new program to help players post-career. And I just want to hear your guys' thoughts on how much this is needed or what it was like for you guys. And I know I think as humans, we all prepare differently for everything anyway. So some guys would be on top of this. Other guys wouldn't. Cass, do you think this is something that was certainly needed and definitely helped? And what was it like for you?
Yeah, well, I say this to our guys all the time because I work with my normal day job when we're not
Mhm.
talking about stuff on here. I work with guys, and I tell them all the time that you take everyone's normal life that most people have, and you condense like all of that life down into like a 10 to 15 year period. That's the life of a professional athlete. It's like so much stuff happens in a short period of time, and you move when you transition out of the league or out of playing professionally. You go there's a part of you that dies. Like you go through a little bit of a death where you have to say goodbye and you have to move on from that part of life. And it's saying goodbye to something you had been working towards from the time you basically were born. And so it can be a really difficult transition. And I think for most players, in my opinion, it takes anywhere from 5 to 7 years to make that transition and feel like you have moved on. Now, not for everybody, that's kind of an average. I would say some guys is longer, some guys happens quicker. But in the past, there haven't been a ton of resources to make that transition well. There just haven't been. Now, the NHL alumni, which is separate than the PA and the league, they have been doing some really, really good things the last number of years. Like they've really been spearheading efforts like this one, and they put in a whole bunch of programs themselves to help players. But it's really good to see that the NHL and the PA are actually actively doing this. Like, yeah, help guys get outside themselves a little bit, especially towards the end of their career. Help them do some training, whether it's a real estate license or some additional schooling or just tutoring, whatever it is, like just to help them make that transition. Not everyone has a mom like mine who is harping on me basically every day to do your school and to take another course and to chip away at a diploma or a degree or whatever. Not everyone has that. So I think just as hard as it is as an athlete, and one of the things that makes athletes so good is they're so focused on what they're doing, and you get such tunnel vision on what you're doing that you think that's all you're ever going to do. And it's part of what makes you good. You have to think that, you have to believe that. It's a mindset. Having some people around the league and some programs to help people step outside a little bit, not to say that your career is going to end, not to say that you have to be done, but to say, hey, let's start to prepare you for this so that you're going to go through such an emotional transition that you at least have some stuff there. You at least have some stuff there to make that transition, because even if, I had an incredible team around me of family and support and my wife, who's fantastic. Like I had support systems in place, and it was still hard. It's still a hard transition. So I'm really, really happy they're doing this. I'm hoping it's not just I'm hoping, and it looks like there is, I'm hoping there's a lot of meat to it. I'm hoping it really, really helps guys. And it's a good thing, such a positive. I'm very, very happy they're putting this in place.
Gager, what was it like for you, buddy?
I was on my own. I didn't went straight into slinging cable, Dusty. So it was I didn't get the help I needed.
Like the month after kind of thing? Like,
basically, I came home. I had a job interview, and I told hockey stories at this thing. And I remember coming home, and my wife goes, "How'd it go?" I go, "I got it. These guys are eating out of the palm of my hand." I was telling old stories about playing hockey, and then I got the second interview because they phoned right away. I can come in right in. And his name was Scott Ranger, and he kind of poured me over the coals a little bit, and he didn't want to hear any hockey stories. So I was just giving him the biggest load of crap about my desire and stuff. It was hilarious, but he turned out to be a good guy, and I run into him here and there. But I remember there was one point where I was putting in cable in just a crack house right by Northlands or Rexall, right? So, and it was an aerial area, and the line had been cut to the house. So I had to redo the line from the alley to the house, and it was probably about like -20, dead of winter, 6:00 at night. So it's dead, like just dark, and everyone's going to the Oilers game. And I'm sitting on top of the ladder, latched in, and I can see Rexall, like it's in my view. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? So yeah, it would have been nice. Would have been nice, PA. Jesus. But hey, you know what? I'm slinging dogs. Hey, I was employee of the month, and
you were employee of the month.
So
that's huge.
You know what? It worked out for me. but not with a few boxes of tissues and some tears.
Oh man, that's so good. But you are the employee of the month, which congratulations, Gage. You're K4 Financial
thanks.
Employee of the Month. Yeah, and so the Oilers moved to a new downtown rink and it's all fancy. But you're the bloody employee of the month, man. So that's gonna be the title of the episode, the employee of the month. So yeah, that's great. All right, that's gonna do it for another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. Hopefully that program helps a lot of people, and if not, they can pop on the podcast as a guest, and we can chat with them about things, which would be fun. All right, boys, you have a good weekend, and we'll be back with another episode to kick off draft week on Monday, which should be a lot of fun. Good seeing you guys. Good seeing you guys today.
Good to see you too.
Talk to you later, boys.
Yeah. All right, later.